Welcome to the Bde Maka Ska Refectory Rebuild, Draft Vision, Guiding Principles, and Concepts video. My name is Dan Elias, and I'm the Design Project Manager from the Minneapolis Park and Recreation Board leading this project. You can find a PDF of this presentation on the project page by going to www.minneapolisparks.org/BMS Rebuild, where you will also find a public survey that will be open through April 1st. The release of the project Draft Vision, Guiding Principles, and Concepts is intended to solicit feedback and encourage dialogue about the future of this important site in the city and region. The Bde Maka Ska Refectory Rebuild will focus on building and site improvements in an area bounded by the existing promenade on the north, East Bde Maka Ska Parkway on the east, the existing boat launch on the south, and Bde Maka Ska on the west. The trails within the red dashed line will remain in their current alignment. The boat launch area to the south will not be relocated during this project. However, the Park Board will include a vision for this space within the final concept plan. In 2017, the Minneapolis Park and Recreation Board of Commissioners approved the Bde Maka Ska Lake Harriet Master Plan, including recommendations for Northeast Bde Maka Ska, some of which were recently completed through a trail and access improvements project that same year. The refectory rebuild includes a new all-gender ADA accessible restroom building, along with the kitchen and dining spaces lost to fire in 2019, both of which are included in the master plan recommendations. Additionally, the Bde Maka Ska Lake Harriet Master Plan provides recommendations intended to guide all improvement projects at both lakes, regardless of location. The recommendations listed here will provide guidance for this project, including the historical and cultural resource recommendation that directs the Park Board to reveal and interpret the natural and human history of the lakes, and the recreation, events, and enterprise recommendation that directs the Park Board to expand winter programming and recreational opportunities. In looking to build off the work of the master plan, this project will be guided by a project vision and guiding principles. The draft project vision states, using the community visioning and planning of the Bde Maka Ska Lake Harriet Master Plan as a guide, this project seeks to rebuild the historic refectory building and adjacent shoreline site to elevate the site's rich history and cultural significance, support the contemporary community's interests and well-being, and to be a steward to this unique landscape. Above all, the design of this site seeks to be inclusive to all and to celebrate the diversity of lived experiences of this place. The first draft guiding principle for the Bde Maka Ska Refectory Rebuild is Reveal the Legacy, which states, provide space for performance, storytelling, art, and interpretation focused on revealing the untold stories of this site's cultural history and connecting to the current and future cultural landscape of the region. This is envisioned in both concepts by integrating a stage area into the general seating areas. The performance space would leverage this busy area as an opportunity not only to provide entertainment, but also for cultural reflection on the site's rich cultural history and contemporary and future importance. Efforts would be made to prioritize Black, Indigenous, and people of color performers in this space. Additionally, both concepts look to dedicate space within the site and building facade for public art and interpretation. The next draft guiding principle is support local economies. Provide economic opportunity for Black, Indigenous, and people of color communities. While the current contracted vendor of the refectory at Bde Maka Ska is Lola's on the Lake, a Black-owned business, these concepts look to provide additional economic opportunity by dedicating space for pop-up vendor markets, again, with an effort to prioritize Black, Indigenous, and people of color communities and businesses. The third draft guiding principle is honor land and water, which states, protect mature vegetation, support the health of the lake, and promote native plant species throughout the site. The proposed site layout of both concepts ensures the protection of the 3 mature oak trees on the southeast side of this site. Additionally, stormwater best management practices will be designed and implemented using mostly native plantings to ensure that the stormwater that enters Bde Maka Ska is as clean as possible. The last draft guiding principle is foster human connection, which looks to enhance the user experience by designing for physical, mental, and emotional well-being, and providing the opportunity for people to connect with nature and one another. This guiding principle is currently reflected through the variety of seating options, including communal and community tables, as well as fire pits for fall, winter, and spring site activation. Within both concepts, there are consistent design elements reflected beyond those presented through the guiding principles. The clearest design decision reflected in both concepts is that 2 buildings are proposed to replace the 1 building lost to fire in 2019. In both concepts, the northern building represents the main restaurant space serving the site, while the southern building includes the new all-gender ADA accessible restroom, along with additional food vendor space and trash, delivery, and storage space. The 2 building layout benefits the site in many ways. First, by separating the buildings, the views to the lake from the trails, parkway, and green space are retained, reducing the visual impact that one large single structure would have on the site. Second, the 2 building layout facilitates better year-round operations. The northern building can operate during the busy summer season and be shut down during the off-season. The southern smaller building could operate beyond the peak season, allowing for restroom access and a smaller food vending option at other times of the year. As we move into each individual concept, images throughout the rest of the document are annotated to provide additional context, as well as to identify how proposed improvements relate to the project's draft guiding principles. Focusing in on Concept A, the 2 buildings are oriented in a general north-south and east-west direction. Between the 2 buildings, space is provided for a pop-up vendor market. Shade is provided through independent shade structures, and tree plantings and stormwater infiltration is integrated throughout the site. The performance area sits near the southern building, nestled into the off-season use zone. Within the preliminary programs of each building, you'll note that the northern building is the main food service building, with a small dedicated space for indoor dining, while the southern building contains the restrooms, storage, and waste area, along with additional food service space. Efforts have been made within these 2 concepts to provide a variety of solutions to the site's design challenges. Here you see how shade is provided in this concept with independent shade structures that would be designed as solar ready for a future renewable energy project. As you approach from the intersection of Bde Maka Ska Parkway and Lake Street, you can see the covered area for the food lines. This is also one of the site's main opportunities for public art and interpretation. At the lower southern patio, the fire pit and shade structure seating area would surround the performance space, with additional opportunities for informal seating provided along the seat wall. This area could be maintained in the winter for year-round use along with the southern building. From the end of the promenade, you can see that the lake's edge is set up for bar seating on the right with tabletop seating on the left. With the elevated patio near the northern building, views of the lake and sunset would be available for a larger amount of the site. This view from the elevated patio provides a clear view of the community tables and shaded seating. From the boat launch access, you can see the entry to the ADA accessible all-gender restrooms. Additional opportunities for interpretation and public art exist at this busy node. Looking west between the two buildings, the flexible vendor area is accessible to restaurant guests as well as the general park and trail user. The vendor area is intended to be programmed to provide economic opportunities for Black, Indigenous, and people of color communities and businesses. As we focus on Concept B, you'll note that the separation between the two buildings opens from the intersection of Lake Street and Bde Maka Ska Parkway to a communal fire pit and informal lake access point. The seating areas closest to the buildings are elevated, and an extension of the colored concrete promenade wraps the site on the west. This lower area would facilitate walk-through pedestrian traffic without disrupting the seating areas. Shade is provided in this concept through an integrated roof extension connecting both buildings. As we look at the preliminary programs of each building, you'll note that the northern building is again the main food service building, while the southern building contains the restrooms. With this view from over Bde Maka Ska, you can see the roof projecting from both buildings, which provides shade and protection from the rain. This roof extension would be designed as solar ready, similar to Concept A. As you approach the refectory from the intersection of Lake Street and Bde Maka Ska Parkway, you can see the lake view opening directly in front of you. The lines for both the main food building and supplemental food building would extend from this central walkway. The front face of the northern building is envisioned as a prime location for cultural interpretation along the well-traveled pedestrian trail. Within this view, you can see both informal and formal seating areas, as well as the elevated patio space, allowing for additional views to the lake and sunset. The entry to the ADA accessible all-gender restroom would also provide a space for deliveries, storage, and trash and recycling pickup. On the left, each vertical structural element is envisioned as an area for public art or interpretation of the site's cultural significance. As we move to the northwest corner of the site, the performance area is on the outside of the elevated patio with a dedicated informal seating area opposite it. As this walkway extends to the east, the pop-up vendor market could extend along the existing promenade. The elevated covered seating areas closer to the building provide expansive views of the lake and summer sunsets. The area closer to the southern building could be maintained for winter use with a fire pit and community seating opportunities. Thank you for watching the release of the Bde Maka Ska Refectory Rebuild Draft Vision, Guiding Principles, and Concepts. Please visit the project page to view the presentation, find more information, and to take the public survey. There are 3 virtual question and answer sessions scheduled over the next 2 weeks. Please join us if you can. Thank you.